cheer for your Sydney Swans.
Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club.
So to all you loyal Swans out there, you just can't get enough of the red and the white.
Fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods.
G'day there, Cygnets and Swanlings. Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods. You're joined as always by the boys from Sydney and one bloke from Finland and a lovely lass, which we'll talk about in just a moment. I'm Chris and this is Steve-O. Steve-O, welcome back to a whole new AFLW season.
Yeah, it's great to be here, and that's right. Lucky loyal Swans fans today, we've got for you to welcome to the podcast for the very first time. I'm going to read out her list of achievements. She's a three-time All-Australian, best and fairest at Collingwood, three-time leading goal kicker, AFL Rising Star, co-captain of the mighty Swans. We welcome to the podcast Chloe Molloy.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to join the bevy. I'm excited.
Beautiful. It's so really good to have you here, and I think it's really timely, given you have just started going into pre-season. The pre-season started last week, I understand.
Yes, last week, week 2 currently.
Yep. And how's everyone feeling, I guess, right off the bat?
Well, we Swannies have been going for a while now. We had a whole training block, a 13-week training block, and then played 5 VFLW invitational games and then a match against the Suns. So we had a 2-week break in between that, and then kicked off June 3rd for our official pre-season, where we had a schedule. It's hectic, but I think we're all pretty well equipped, and I think everyone's pretty keen to kind of get into it all, smash it, and continue to, I guess, develop a program that's going to have people come in and out, and it's just going to be, in terms of in and out, like sustained success. So something, set the foundations in another year that we're so excited. And I guess it's a exciting place to be when you have the men's absolutely killing it at the moment. So, yeah, there's a lot of excitement under the roof of the Swannies.
I love to hear it. How is the feeling in that locker room within the girls there? Of course, you can probably feel the aura of like the whole Swans 150th year, of course, big part of that. What the men's are doing, and then of course what the women's are heading off in your amazing season for last year. What does the locker room feel like?
Well, currently midway into week 2 of pre-season, so we're pretty knackered. We had it's currently Wednesday and we had a contested day, so the vibes are still there, but we've got some bodies that are a bit sore. And but in terms of vibes, I think literally from day one, Scotty spoke about time and how when you're in AFLW program, you just never know how much time you have, and then correlating that onto a footy field. And I think from there, it's just created some sort of a buzz amongst the program, and I think something we always divert back to when it's getting hard is like time. I don't know how long I've got in the AFLW system. I don't know how long I've got here at the Swannies. So it's pre-season and it's a grind time, but there is definitely a buzz within the 4 walls, and I think the men have a lot. We're riding off the men at the moment. They come in and you watch their games on the weekend, and then you see what they're producing in the footy that they're playing. It's like, all right, this is why we're training. We're training to play for premierships. We're training to succeed. We're training to win. We're training to kick goals like what Chad and Errol and Isaac and all the boys have been able to do.
Yeah, for sure. It must be a buzz the way that it's going at the moment, and we can't wait to see how the rest of the year goes for both the women's and the men's. Take us in, like you talked about the pre-season and you're getting started with your week 2 now. For a fan, like an outsider, what does a day look like for you when you go into the club? Like how's tomorrow look? It's Wednesday today. What are you going to do on Thursday when you get into the club?
Yeah, so we load our day. So I'll take you from a Monday. We'll start on one of our main sessions, so which is a Monday. And I guess the way the AFLW is progressing now is it's going into more full-time. It's in that evolution. So a Monday for us looks like we get in there just before midday. We'll have a team meeting, about an hour team meeting, where we either review the previous week, and then we will talk game tactics, how we want to move the ball, just a lot of game education about how we want to play. And then we'll move into prep time. So then we get prep, and then we have our main field session, which Monday is normally a heavier load. Then recovery, dinner, and mandatory education, which could be anything. And that finishes about 7:30. So Mondays are one of the bigger days. Tuesdays we have off, but you'll find that a lot of the Swannies girls, if not everyone, will come in and we do our extras and our IDP, which is individual development plan. And they'll do extra recovery, touch on the footy. And I mean, when you have a facility like we do, it's hard not to be there. You're literally drawn to the building and you just kind of want to be in there getting better. And then we flip to Wednesdays. So we're still in the club. We've been in the club every day so far. Wednesdays, another bigger session. We're in at 8 a.m. arrival, and then we finish up about just after lunch, so like 1 o'clock. Again, the same sort of structure how Monday was. And then we move into Thursdays, which is IDP days, so really centered around an off-leg session and focusing in on your individual skills and your individual goals. Friday off, which is awesome. And then Saturday, we've got another main session. So we'll up at the club at 7 a.m., arrive at latest arrival by 7, and then we'll finish up literally just after lunchtime. And amongst all that, we have 3 gyms, 3 field sessions, a skill session, off legs. And we also get Sundays off. So, yeah. But I think the most exciting thing is, and proud of the girls for how far we've come, is literally you'll find the girls at the club genuinely most days, and it's actually quite hard to keep them out of there and say you need a balance because like I said, you have a facility that's so inviting, and we want to be pushing elite. So for the fans, if you kept up with what I just said, that's kind of what the women's program's schedule looks like at the moment.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool to hear, like how it works, because we often wonder, what are you doing during the week, and then how does that compare? You've been 6 years or so in the AFLW now. How does it compare now? What you're doing this preseason to going back to when you started? Has it changed much? You said it's shifting more to full time. So what have you noticed in that period?
The hours and the timing of the hours and is so beyond in terms of. I used to get home at 10:30, 11 p.m. because season 1, the games weren't as long. There was not as many training hours, so literally everything would be after hours. You'd always do after hours. It'd be post work, we're recording this potty pretty late, and it would be all right. Work's done. Now instead of recording a Bevy podcast, you'd have to go train, and then you'd train, gym, dinner, and it would be a 10:30. Leaving 10:30, 9:30 p.m. getting home and going to work. So it looked a lot more of like working a full-time job, full-time study and training after hours. Whereas now, like I mentioned, I'm in at the club from 7, 8 a.m. midday till 7 p.m. It's looking more like a full-time job rather than something that you do post hours.
Yeah, it's a big shift, hey? I was wondering that too, because if we go back to when you started, you were a top basketball player when you were younger, and in 2017, from what I can find, you turned down a bunch of Division 1 scholarships to play and study in big US colleges. And at that point, you would have been, 18, 19 maybe, and the AFLW
17,
is in its
late
first
bloomer.
year. Yeah, 17, wow, yeah. So the AFLW is in its first season, 8 teams, fledgling competition. Can you talk us through that decision a bit, and what were the key things that made you decide to stay in Australia and play footy?
Well, the key thing was I had been a little footy nut literally from the day I was born. This might go. This is probably not the right thing to say on this biased podcast, but I was a massive Pies fan growing up, so I watched my uncle on the TV and literally just grew up with a whole lot of kids on my street, a couple of boys, and we would play footy every day after school. So I'd actually always had a football in hand until I was told I wasn't able to play anymore. And, you get to a certain age where development-wise, I was female and the men could play, but the girls couldn't. So I went and pursued basketball. But then when the AFLW was introduced, I was like, hell nah, I cannot miss out on that. I didn't even know if I could kick or mark a ball, but hey, I'm going to give it a crack because I remember being somewhat decent back in the day playing amongst all the boys, and I had a lot of people around me saying, you should play. But I also had mum going, you just literally sacrificed years of basketball. I sacrificed years because you're 17. You couldn't drive yourself. I've spent money on shoes, petrol, time in the car. You're getting on that plane and you're going over to college. And I was like no, like, I just can't. Like, I need to play footy. Yeah, and then literally this decision was I didn't know I was the dream of being an AFL footballer was something that I could do, so I never had it. And then the moment it was established, I was like, that's what I want to do. That is me. Like, I would be doing myself a disservice going and playing basketball when football is all I've ever wanted to do. And yeah, to much to Mum's, I guess, despite, she came around to me playing football. I guess she just was devil's advocate, and I was giving up something pretty incredible in 4 years of a paid tuition to go over to America, new experience, everything paid for 4 years to give up it for a gamble. But, you know, I could not play. I could not play football. That was a dream I never knew I had.
And just, I mean, let's have a look at your career you've had so far, and you are still so young. You've accomplished so much, still more to come, of course. But did you envisage that even when you started this journey down AFLW, that it would be where it is up to in 6 years from then?
Well, thank the Lord it worked out, hey? Look, I didn't envision, I actually, in all truth, had envisioned being a one-club player. Never thought I would leave the football club that I grew up barracking. That was just something that never crossed my mind. But I don't know. I didn't think too far ahead. I was like, just get yourself drafted and just see rotation. I guess I was probably one of the fortunate ones where I was 18, just being drafted, and I was drafted in my draft year. So I was able to study full time, play football, and could kind of have the best of both worlds in that sense. So I finished my studies within 3 years, and I now know girls, you know, it's going to take them a few years to finish their courses because they have to do it in subjects. But yeah, I had no idea. I would have said you were an absolute clown had you said you'd be playing for Sydney Swans one day.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
Best
tell
thing
you
I
what.
ever did, though.
It's good. I mean, co-captain, of course, we really appreciate. I know how much of an emotional decision it was. You were very honest, and it's really beautiful, and it's really good as fans to see just how honest you were about the move and what it meant to you and the reasons for doing it. And coming to a club to kind of bring us into our first finals win. I mean, we can't thank you enough for being a big part of that, for sure.
Oh, I don't want to be thanked. I think, you know, if anything, I just thank Sydney for you know, I was offered an extensive contract to come across, and I'd had issues with my back, and there was still a lot of faith in offering me such a long contract, and to be able to sign, you know, historically one of the longest contract in AFLW. So, you know, I know you thank me, but I think if anything, I thank how open arms the club have been, the fans have been. You know, I came from a rival club that's, you know, if you don't play for them, you hate them, in Collingwood. So, yeah, to be welcome to Sydney.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's honest. And yeah, I actually never thought I'd love Sydney as much as I do. And even like interactions with the fans when we have our fans days and our members days, everyone, like, because you're able to invest all your emotional energy just into Sydney, and you don't have to decide whether you want to vote, support this Melbourne team or that Melbourne team. Like, everyone's in it together, whether, you know, you've got the boots on or whether you're on the other side of the fence supporting us. Like, yeah, it generally is like one big, massive Swans community that every time I go out and play football, I genuinely think of everybody that I've come across or met or been able to talk to who loves the Swans.
Love it. And we drag numbers to the games. I know that much. The Swannies bring numbers to AFLW games and VFLW.
We had someone come in the other day and speak to us, and we're just trying to. One thing in the program is trying to make everyone aware of the wider community, and what we do matters to a lot of other people. And there was a survey, and just the AFLW itself has 1 million people that identify as a Sydney Swans AFLW fan. Like 1 million people.
Yeah, wow.
That's like, that was so eye-opening, and honestly, we flex on AFL when I know there's been a couple of workshops that some staff members have gone to, and even myself, we went to a luncheon with some of the AFL commissioners, and the question was like, what do Sydney do to be so good? Like, what is it? And I'm like, I don't know. Come find out.
I love that. I think it's, as a Sydney sider, growing up here, I think we've probably got a bit of a different perspective on how football has kind of grown. And I think, like, from where I grew up in Sydney, it was very league focused. As you can appreciate, league. I'll tell a story. I've told the story before. I'll tell it again. The only reason I got into AFL is because I didn't want to play soccer because I was South American. I didn't want to do the typical thing, but I wasn't allowed to play rugby league because my grandma was going to bash me up if she found out. So I ended up playing AFL, and you just copped loads of abuse. I remember sitting there, Sarah Redfern Oval, getting stuff thrown at you, being called all different types of names. To go from that to now, as you said there, you know, 1 million Sydney Swans AFLW fans identified, and just the size of the club coming up to over 65,000 members now. It's come such a long way, and being a big part of it, and the co-captain, of course, of the team. How does that feel to you? How does it feel surreal, or do you actually feel it within the club?
Oh, you feel it within the club massively, and you know, you asked the question of like, did you ever picture this? And then even just thinking back, like, you list all the accolades, and you go, well, what are you most proud of? And I go, probably being a part of something bigger than just myself, like the game of AFL being acknowledged in a league-dominated state, and actually now, you know, you're not copping the abuse, hopefully, anymore, because, you know, you want to support a league team, but then also, like, you get on back of the Swannies. So you definitely feel it within the club, and I'm probably come in at a good time where, you know, football was being followed because the boys had done so well previously, and then the women came in. So I probably slid in at quite a really nice time, and in terms of there being fans and genuine fans of the game of AFL. But yeah, I probably I even probably need a bit of a history lesson in how far AFL has come in New South Wales.
Yeah, it sure has. I mean, like, I grew up on Central Coast, like up Gosford, Terrigal way, and it's rugby league heartland. You know, like, playing Aussie rules was social outcast material. You know, but they had to put the comps on, like, the Aussie rules had to be on Sundays because all the local league and the rugby and that was on Saturdays. So the only way you could get kids to play footy was to do it on a Sunday, so they could play both. And that's how we grew up. And now it's thriving up there. You know, it's great.
I have to imagine Heaney is a part of that as well. He's just like getting some of those younger kids coming through.
Yeah, from up the Newcastle way, and like the McVeigh brothers are from where I grew up, and they've been good role models for kids coming through. It's really grown massively in 25 years.
Yeah, and I think the cool part about that, and you know, cool's probably not the fanciest way to describe it, is how much the players give back as well. And you see Isaac with the fifth quarter camps and what he's doing, alongside a couple of the other AFL players. We won't mention any other rival teams' names on here. We won't give them the airtime.
We're allowed to.
But just how the players are investing back to, and even the clubs, they have an intention to go out and link up with communities and go to schools and you know, put a footy in the hands of the kids at schools and make AFL a thing.
That's right. The VFLW is something that you managed to play. You played a few games during the season. What did you get out of that? I think if we take it back to the games in themselves, how much did you take out of those games? Did the teams work on anything in particular? Or did coaches want to see certain things out of you? Or was it just a matter of getting some time in the legs?
I think it was a variation of things. Definitely kilometres in terms of playing games, and we need to play more games. We obviously don't play enough as it is, so it was an opportunity to play 5-6 extra games on top of what we do in the season. But Scotty made some moves amongst it all. We had some players switch up their positions. You know, we tried out something that we might use in the AFLW, and Honestly, speaking, I think who it benefited the most was our new draftees coming through. And even Sarah Grundon said the other day in the gym, I asked her, "Oh, how you going? Are you settling?" And she said, "Yeah, going really well." She goes, "I think the best thing was the fact that I got to play 6 games before I had to, it just is an opportunity to get the nerves out, to get the cobwebs out, to play with your new teammates, to play at a women's level, which is a lot faster, quicker pace, bigger bodies. It was all, and we're not playing for premiership points either, so there's no stress in terms of selection. There's no, no one has to get dropped. There's not the performance anxiety side of it is lessened because we're not competing for points. We're trying to get Ks in. We're trying to create continuity. We're just trying to get our ball movement, our patterns in. So that was probably that's what I think we as a program got the most out of it. And and if anything, shout out to Sydney for giving us the opportunity and investing money into those 5 games because we didn't just play them for free.
Yeah, there you go. Steve, over to you, mate.
Yeah, we go back to, I guess, the start of last season and starting to think about the coming season now, which is going to start, soon. It's only a couple of months away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really soon, actually. You look at the calendar,
It'll
it's
come
creeping
quick.
up fast. Yeah, it will, and we can't wait. We're buzzing. But look, at the start of the 2023 season, after the first year, didn't win a game, copped some real hidings in some of the matches, and as a fan going into that 2023 season, all I really hoped for, honestly, was just to be competitive in more games and hopefully see us get a win. And that was it. And then that happened straight away. And then I was wondering, what was your goal with the team on field for results for 2023? And then what's the goal for this season?
Yeah, I think the first, yeah, well, to go from not recording a game to not recording a win, I think you'd be lying if you said your goal wasn't just win a game. But we looked at it in terms of we wanted to build something that was going to, I guess, compete against all the teams. And if the wins came with that, then that was a bonus. But look, honestly, to give a bit of insight, there was a massive monkey on the back, heading into round 1. Scotty Gowans, I think, revved the Giants up with his little headliner comment on they're the worst performing inaugural team. And I went to Scotty, I said, "Scotty, what are you doing?" And he goes, "Oh, I was just taking the heat off you guys." I said, "Scott, you're in the coach's box. Who do you think we're going to run through?" But in terms of what we looked for in the 2023 season, you have your practice matches that you play prior to the season. And we'd played Gold Coast and, God, it slipped my mind at who else we played. And we played really well, and Carlton as well. And we won those games. Yeah. So it's kind of is it just because it's a practice match? Where do we sort of sit? We don't really know. And then, you get halfway through the Giants game and we're like, oh, God, this is an uphill battle we've created for ourselves. We're going to disappoint all our fans to come out of round 1 again and, Sydney Derby, and we're going to freaking lose in front of them. But then, we ended up, it was a thrilling game. We came back in that last quarter. Brianna Tarrant, I just remember her being an absolute brick of a thing. And then Alicia Eva's ankles being left in the pocket. Pretty happy with that one. And then to win, I think it was just a monkey off the back moment. And then from there, it was almost we can compete like this. We know what winning feels like now. And I think we had that, and it's almost it's a hit. We want that again. We want to win again. And then we lost, and then we won again, then we lost. And we're like, okay, well, we need to string some games together. And then all of a sudden we found our mojo halfway through the season, and we got our first win away, and then we got back to back. And I think prior to 2023 season, what we were looking at was just see where we match up. We've just finally been able to have time to put a list together, time to get players across, time to get to know each other's names and what we do outside of football. So not to disregard the first season, but we weren't given the best succession plan in terms of 6 weeks, AFLW, put a team together. We finally had that time to build a program and build proper foundations. And then, looking forward to this season, it comes around so quickly, and at the moment that what we're trying to harp on is we want sustained success. We want to play a game, a ball movement game that no matter who you are, no matter who's on the field, whoever is playing their role, this is how the Swans play. This is their culture, and we just want it to hold up against whatever team we come against. And I guess the benchmark is your Adelaide and Brisbane's, and we were pretty embarrassed with our final performance against Adelaide. And we actually reviewed that week 1 of pre-season. We reviewed the game there. But I think, this season is building success and building tangible success and what it looks like. So your 1%ers at training, your little habits, not being late, taking a mark out in front of you instead of on your chest, putting yourself in game time situations. And we've been referring to the Adelaide game, like put yourself in the Adelaide game. Like that was genuinely embarrassing. That's not how we want to play football, and that's not what we want to be remembered for as a team that played, that kind of got bullied and run over the top of and kind of just gave up. So, that's kind of the motivation for 2024 is to build a successful program that people can come in and they know exactly what we stand for, exactly how we play straight away.
That's awesome. That's really incredible insight. Something that the fans would love hearing. I mean, Gowans has also now signed on till end of 2027. The big man himself. Like how much of an impact has he made to the way the Swans have gone about it? And I mean, how does it gel with yourself being the captain there?
Yeah, I think what probably one of the most comforting things is to know who's at the helm for the next. Like you said, he signed till 2027, so we know who is our leader and who is our head coach until 2027. Like, there's not this 2-year, 1 year. It's also a lot of stress off him because coaches either keep their job based on the win-loss ratio of a team. So, looking after round 1, you'd think, God, like first season, if you were generally putting it like, Scotty's got the axe. Like, they didn't win a single game. So, I think what it creates is a bit of relief amongst it. We know who's at the helm. We know that we're not going to have too many changes to the way we play, except as the league evolves and as our team evolves. And the thing about Scotty is he's probably one of the most intricately smart, intelligent coaches in terms of football and how the game's played. The time that he spends watching football, watching trends, getting data from games, data from players, and understanding the way AFLW works, and then in doing so comes up with drills and ball movement plays and positional changes to suit teams. He just watches so much footy and he's so knowledgeable that when he speaks and when he says, all right, we're doing this drill, you just trust it because you're like, okay, that's going to come up in a game because he's watched that many games of football. He's watched players. He just knows. And then, we've got that till 2027. So, like, we can build off the back of what he is trying to implement.
He does seem like someone who just really gets around you guys, like really loves what he does. Like it's that much shines through every time he talks to the media, every time he's talking to one of you, you sit there with the clipboard. He's got this air of just comfort and at the same time intensity. What does it feel like when he's sitting there at the front of you, as he did the first week when he said, "Don't get comfortable in your seats"?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
what
God,
does
he
that?
literally
What does
said,
that
"Don't
feel
get comfortable."
like?
He actually said, "Don't get too comfortable." And I think he is really like he hasn't ever yelled at us. He's never gone off his nut at us in terms of like getting a message across. It's almost like you don't want to disappoint him, and he just kind of says it with this passion, and it's not being made up either. And he says it and he believes it. And when someone speaks their truth and their beliefs, it comes across so fluently that you pick up on that straight away, and you go, yeah, like that hit, like the way, the tone, the body language, just the facial expressions. And he's like, it's like, don't get too comfortable. It really hits you and resonates with me personally because I'm like, God, like he's right. Like he just is constantly putting things into perspective for us. And like I said, he's not a yeller. He's definitely not a yeller. And so funny that you say he has this aura about him that he loves it, because he almost like plays hard to get. Like you wouldn't actually know that at the club, because he there's no favoritism. He gives the same amount of time and effort to all the players. His job is a head coach. Like the assistant coaches are there to kind of be that not socialite, but to be the ones that he's like the puppeteer. Like, okay, go do this, and but he probably he does praises, but he probably leaves it to the assistant coaches more. So when you do get a compliment from him, it kind of hits twice as hard, because he's actually quite reserved at training.
Wow, right. That's really cool insight. Yeah. That's very different to, I guess, the perspective that we get as fans and what we see. Because, yeah, for me personally, I see him as like, he'll get your arm around you like at every opportunity. But it sounds like a little bit less than that. Maybe it's just
But he does.
in a constructive way. In a constructive way.
Like he definitely puts out, like between him and his wife Jodie, they are open door policy. Like whenever you need to go over to him, or if ever you need, like his office door is always open. He catches up. He probably has a conversation with every single player once a week. And he's in tune with people. He watches. He kind of sits on the sideline. I always ask him, like, Scotty, what are you watching? Because I've had moments where I've been in rehab, so I haven't been able to participate. I'm like, Scotty, what are you watching? Like, what are you looking for? He's like, body language. I'm just watching the intensity of girls. I'm just observing. I'm just kind of picking up the vibe and the dynamic. Like I said, I think he's a big feeler in how I'm going to say, his girls are going. Like, he definitely has a finger on the pulse, and he gets things. By certainly he'll throw his arm around if you need to, but otherwise he understands that sometimes, like, we're all adults within the program, and he knows that we've got each other, and he knows that he's got a really good support network around him, that he necessarily doesn't have to be the one always putting his arm around, because also at the end of the day he's got a job in being head coach and looking after not just players but the staff, the board, like so many other people he has to answer to. But I know he adores our football club and adores our team, and we're just thank God that we've got Jodie Gowans, because she passes on all the soft and soppy conversations that they have at home, and she passes it on to us players.
I love that. What a tag team. What a tag team. Has he, okay, so on that point then, has he sat there on the start? Have you noticed anyone that's come into the preseason raring to go, body language just firing off, that you think that fans should just keep a little bit of an eye on because there's something coming on? Or is it too early maybe? I don't know.
Well, we've had, like I said, we've had the whole preseason in terms of preseason games. But an interesting one for me, and it's more like the mindset that she's brought in, is Giselle Davies.
Right.
She's come from the Suns, where she didn't play a single game, and she played reserves every weekend. And mind you, if you ever get her on the mic, you'd be blown away about the mindset that she has towards every situation she's given. There will always be a silver lining, and she's almost like a chameleon in terms of she gets along with everybody. She knows how to change and adapt to the person that she's talking to, which I think is such a incredible skill beyond just the playing field. So, and the way she trains, God, she just throws her body around. Like, she is, every training session, she's playing for a spot in round one, and you can just tell. So she's definitely one that I'd be keeping my eye on. It's Montana Ham came into our VFLW series the fittest she's ever been. She was genuinely running laps around some of the girls, and she's keeping her body fit and healthy, but she's another one to keep an eye on. She's just agile. She can run further, so she's getting her hands on the footy more possession, and she's a smart footballer and sets up a lot of our chains. So I'd say Mon, Giselle. God, when you do these things, you don't want to like offend anyone, and when they listen back,
if you say everyone,
you're like, oh
can't be
God,
saying this is not an Oscar.
I know.
Speech. You're gonna get musicked off, right?
And then it's like timer's gonna end.
Well, we did have. Well, I mean, Montana was one, but we're really keen on seeing her come in super hot. We know how skillful she is, and I know, Steve, you are a massive fan, right?
It was like
Hard not
just
to be.
yeah, but not just like on the field. The fact that she wanted to be in Sydney, that a player of her caliber as a junior said, "Nah, this is where I'm going to be," I think gave a massive bolst to fans. Certainly, gave her some real confidence going into the footy, and the way she puts it on the field, she's had some injuries and stuff for sure, but every time she's on the field, you just thought that's a player that hopefully we get a good 10 years out of. It's going to be amazing.
Give her an extension, eh?
Yeah,
You know,
give her as many years as she wants.
Ser-
Just sign it.
at least she won. I love that you guys, like, when you said, like, you embrace players that show faith in Sydney as well. Like, I've definitely felt that signing long term, and even like you said, Monty coming across as a junior and electing to move to Sydney, and even Laura Gardner coming across. Like, I don't know, I definitely
Yep.
feel I actually feel the love from Sydney. Like, it's almost like a thank you for coming across, and yeah, like we've had you've wrapped your arms around us, and I think the players that have chosen to come to Sydney are playing some of their best footy.
And look, coming on behalf of all Swans fans, you can take that hug to the bank. That is solid stuff coming on. Yeah. Cool. Well, Giselle was really good wording. I love to see. So let's keep an eye on that. I won't necessarily hold you to name every single player. So let's just say, for anyone else listening in from the team, I've cut Chloe short, right?
We actually sat here for an extra half an hour, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've cut it out. Nah. Well, yeah. Look, one thing that I actually wanted your opinion on. The you get to play on all these different grounds around a lot of training grounds. You played Lakeside, you played Heffron. What is your favorite ground to play?
Henson.
Beautiful.
Henson.
Now, correct. Next question is
Correct.
Didn't realise I was being tested there.
Yeah, that was a test. Pass, tick. Next question is, and there is a correct answer to this one as well. I'm just going to let you know up front. Do you think that Sydney should host the first AFLW gather round?
Yes.
How good does that sound, right?
Absolutely, I think we should. I think between the grass, the green availability that we have, if you play, like you said, you put the SCG to use. You can use Tramway.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Henson. I think we can play W games at North Sydney, and then you've got Giants Stadium and Giants training facility as well.
Yep.
So
yeah.
For anyone
that's
in
loads,
the
isn't it?
AFL, bring it to Sydney.
And we get the crowds, the inner west,
Yeah.
the inner west teams, the contingent in Sydney. I think is a very misunderstood market of how strong the inner west Sydney crowd loves AFLW in particular.
Yeah, well, I
and they
didn't even
show with
I
numbers.
had no idea. Like, I didn't think we'd get I thought maybe opening round you'd get fans there because obviously it's the hype and excitement of round one. But I was actually in awe of how many times, well, every time we had fans and members and Swans, just lovers and loyal people rock up to games week in, week out, even to fly to the Gold Coast. Like, we had Swans being chanted. We had more fans in the Gold Coast than Gold Coast had.
I was there for that. My mum this is also probably a thank you to the girls generally, but my mum has never loved sports. She's never been much of a sports person. She's too busy. She's a mum. So she's kind of gotten to this age where she's kind of like, oh, I would love to go watch a game with you, whatever it is that you watch. And we took her to a game and she became obsessed and she joined immediately to AFLW, went to the very first game of the women's over there in North Sydney. We went to all of them. And then when it comes to Gold Coast, she's like, Chris, we have to go. I'm like, right, okay, let's go, Mum. So we packed up, we went for the night. We hung out with your mum's grand value.
My mum. She's a good woman.
She's value. And I was going to say, I tell you what, she's pretty happy with the decision right now. I can only guess because she is absolutely loving everything about what's going on. But yeah, there was such a community of Swans fans there. It felt beautiful. Like the amount of people that went to travel to support the girls all walks of life was awesome.
It's just, I can see why now that I'm in, I can see why Sydney is one of the most supported football clubs. And it's not like, when you get your membership in the mail, you just get it and you rock up to games and you sit and you watch. Like, I think we have, like, Sydney almost have an open door policy, and like the much the much of the match, the way the way Henson games unfold, the way like I said, we're just one big like team in Sydney. Like, yes, you've got the players that compete on the field, but yeah, I just have like never felt so embraced by, honestly, a bunch of randoms that feel like family.
I like that. That's a good way to say it. Well, look, we've kept you for a long time. So we'll start today. And we really appreciate your time with us as the season's just starting. And we hope to get you on again as we start to ramp up more. But what are you doing outside of the footy, the day-to-day getting bashed up around by different people in the team? What are you doing outside of just the regular footy field?
Well, I've been very, very, very fortunate this year that I've been able to really hone in on just being an athlete and looking after my body. I think I've hit a time in my career where I just, and even like Scotty mentioning time and just don't get too comfortable, that resonated with me. I was like, I just need to give everything to football whilst I have the opportunity to. And I'm able to financially support myself off my contract, which I know there's a lot of players that aren't able to do that, have to have a subsidised income. But I have been giving everything I can to the football club and giving everything I can to invest in my body so that literally I can perform for you guys. I spend a lot of my time at the football club in terms of working on ideas of how to bring the group together, how are we feeling this week, what needs to happen, do I need to print off a photo to put it in the change rooms to motivate the girls, do I need to print off a quote. So I'm very, very fortunate to say that I'm doing nothing outside of football and solely living a full-time athlete life, which, yeah, just to even have that roll off the tongue, I kind of want to get up and train already because, yeah, it's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. So I'm finally living out that euphoria of being a full-time athlete.
And Steve-O probably could touch on even more so, like how the AFLW is allowing for that to sometimes occur, of course, for you for now, but who's not to say that the entire team can't be at that level, being full-time athletes in time. And if you don't build it, it will never happen. It's been built, so watch them come. And for any of the listeners out there that are appreciative of what we're able to do with Chloe, turn up to games, buy merch, bring your mates, jump on the social media, send us messages, ping people.
Seriously.
Get around it because it only happens with the fans and there's no.
It only does. I am only being able to sit here and say I'm a full-time athlete because I have people that want to spare time on their weekends to come watch me kick a ball through two big goalposts. And I couldn't be any more grateful. I love it. I thrive off the energy that the crowd gives. So, yeah, I've loved seeing how many players, like I'm referring to you guys as like the extra man. Like, it is probably one of the most satisfying feelings, and you could list any accolade in the world, but a full crowd at Henson is honestly probably the second best thing to a premiership.
Love to see it.
Yeah, it's great, really. Like what you said then, the way you talk about just how good it feels to be a professional athlete and to be doing this, and we think of where the AFLW is now compared to even like less than a decade ago. It's amazing, not just for what can be achieved at the elite level. What I really like appreciate and respect is the example that people in your position are able to give to young girls. Like, I think I've got a little niece, she's 8 years old, and she lives in Canada. Her dad, like my brother, they live over there, and she used to watch the footy with her dad. She used to love it, and she was so excited when she found out that the Swans were going to get a women's team. She was buzzing, and now she's going to be spending her summer holiday in Australia visiting family for the first time, and she's going to go to her first Auskick session as a little Canadian Australian kid, and she's got people like you and like the other girls to look up to, and that's amazing. That's something which wasn't there, and we really appreciate what you're doing for little kids like that, and for all the ones as they're growing up. It's really amazing, and we hope you keep doing it.
You think about why you do things in life, and honestly, one of the reasons why I play football and why I do what I do. Yes, I love to compete, but yeah, to be able to have a tiny impact on someone else's life for the better is just, you can't put a price on that. And I hope I meet her one day. I hope she comes to a game and I'm like, oh, you're the Canadian Aussie
Yeah, that's
kicker.
it.
I've heard about you. You're famous.
There can't be too many of them around, surely. No, that's awesome.
Well, we'll hope to tee that up, but we'll get to that, no doubt, as Steve comes down, watches some AFLW finally.
I actually would be there this summer, finally. I can't get to an AFLW game, unfortunately, because the bloody schedules don't work for me.
Yeah.
But I'm there in July. I forget when.
So, yeah, we're going to get into
I'll
a
get
game.
him to move the season for you.
Yeah, just bring it forward. Like, just play it.
Just bring forward.
Yeah, just like a month. You just fast track your preseason would be good.
You might be able to. Maybe we've got pracky matches in.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Possibly.
Actually, yeah, we can chat later about it anyway. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, the first game of the season is 30th of August at North Sydney Oval, the other home of the Sydney Swans, against your old Pies. Now, kicking off the whole season, that is firstly incredible, given where the Swans are. I think it's also a testament to how strong the fan base has gotten around the game and the league generally. But how excited are you for round one, 30th of August, in front of a full house at North Sydney?
Yeah, well, mind you, week 2 of pre-season, so I'm like not thinking too far ahead. But if I put myself there, and like you said, it is a monument effort, or whatever. I'm exhausted. You get the picture of what I'm trying to say. A monumental effort from us as a team, but us, for people showing up, because I know the AFL dictate games in terms of KPIs of what each team are able to get at games, and we need bums on seats and eyes watching for us to trigger more games in the coming seasons. But yeah, we had a fan experience before the men's game last week against the Cats, and one of the fans said to me, "Oh, it's the grudge match," and I was like, "Oh yeah, like that." Like I think it's an exciting game, and if I put myself as an AFLW fan, which I am also, it's another hat that I wear, to Sydney, Collingwood. There's just been great matchups between the two teams in both programs and both leagues. But I'm stoked. I wish I could fast forward preseason training and preseason running, but that's not a thing. So I will grind that out. But I'm so excited to open the season. Like to be rewarded with round 1 at North Sydney Oval, 7. I can't remember the time, but
15.
I'm stoked. It is why we play. It's why you want to play, and the hype leading up to that week is unforgettable. And I guess doing it against my old side also adds a bit of an extra edge and excitement, because I love the people there, and I don't want another stage. There isn't another team that I'd like to play in round 1 on the opening stage in my own backyard here in Sydney. Like, it is so exciting. I'm stoked. I'm ready to lace the boots up and go play.
Love it. I love to hear it. Everyone loves to hear it. Look, we've kept you on for so long. We couldn't be more appreciative of the time you had with us. As we said, once the tickets go on sales, friends, buy those tickets. They will sell out. It's a guarantee to sell out. Don't be one of those people like messaging Facebook groups asking for tickets. All right? just go get your damn tickets. be the organized ones. But Chloe, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to hearing from you again, and hope the preseason goes well, and we'll have a chat next time.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Steve, and
thank you so much.
Thank you for everyone that made it to this time of the podcast. I appreciate it, and up the bloods.
Up the bloods.